So I think people are starting to get tired of the whole Trump and Biden trains that are both running right off the tracks. I know I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of Donald Trump's media. Not really even Donald Trump, just Donald Trump's media and all the people that support him, or most of them. Same with Biden. I think Biden is actually like not paying attention. He's only doing what people are telling him to do and only saying what people are telling him to say. And he's not even thinking about it. He's just doing it because that's just what they do in the establishment. Not a Democrat thing. It is an establishment thing. And people who are not in the establishment or who don't study the establishment frequently, they just don't know what it's like. They think they're regular people up there. They are not. They are all there for their own personal gain. Just like pretty much everybody in the world is just doing what they think will get them in a better position. And they think that doing the things that they do will put them in a better position and everyone else be damned. Donald Trump kinda wants America to be in a good position, but if America's in a good position, he's in a good position. That's the way he sees it. But he's doing it the same way the Democrats are doing it, but right wing. And he's collecting his own cult members, just like the Democrats do. And then nobody but our party. So let's see what these three women have to say. And I might check out what RFK said at this from SCNR. I've been watching a lot of SCNR. They seem like pretty reputable source. It's like Tim Pool's thing. I don't think Tim Pool owns it. I think he's part of it. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Trump and Biden, between the two, are you leaning one way or another?
I am leaning right in that situation. I have been a lifelong Republican, and I think my morals line up better with.
Yeah, this chick points out down here, Tiffany Justice, lifelong Republican. How many elections has she voted in? She looks to be at most mid-20s. Lol. She's probably about 30.
The Republican Party. I do like Trump. I like what he has to say, but I think that going in the Kennedy direction is probably the best for our country right now.
Is there something Trump or can say until November to kind of win over your support from Kennedy?
I would say if he had less impact from his court cases, maybe if some pressure came off, he was alleviated of those pressures, then I would be more toward him. But right now, he's way too distracted.
I think that the Trump court cases are bullshit, but I think this chick's right for what she's about to say.
Distracted with court and all the indictments and charges against him to be a viable candidate right now.
So after all of his 4 years, what's really turning you off from Trump recently, though, has been his court troubles.
Yeah, definitely. I think that he would make a great president again, but he would just be too distracted with the court troubles.
Absolutely.
Not only that, he's going to be too forthright on revenge and trying to keep himself out of Democrat trouble while also getting himself into trouble because he doesn't know how to speak to Democrats. He knows how to speak to his base. He doesn't know how to speak to the people who are against him. And that's going to be his downfall, I'm pretty sure. If he stays in the race, he's going to win. It doesn't matter. I'm probably still going to vote RFK. If I vote. I don't even know at this point.
There's one topic I want to talk to you about that I know RFK Jr. talks a lot about is foreign policy, especially when it comes to Ukraine. He called it a proxy war and a money laundering scheme tonight. What do you think about his positions re-Ukraine?
I think he's right. I think that the Ukraine war is definitely just something distracting from the issues here at home. We're spending way too much money, taking taxpayer money, sending it to Ukraine for a war that's doing no good for us. We need to spend that money here. We need to put that toward healthcare, education, the border crisis. All kinds of things are happening here, and nobody's looking toward that.
Let me ask,
Well, see, it's actually because we're all already here, and there's nothing that we can do because we actually don't matter. We don't actually affect very much unless we all rally together and, change our votes. But if we all just kind of listen to the news and buy into what everybody says, we're all going to lean a certain way. Go back and listen to what she said. Hold on.
We need to put that toward healthcare, education, the border crisis. All kinds of things are happening here, and nobody's looking.
Yeah, because they're going to send. We're already here. We're on board with all of America, good or bad. Like, there's not anything that we're going to do or be able to do because we're poor, most of us. We're not going to be able to leave the country if we wanted to. We wouldn't know how to do it even if we had the money to do it. And they know that. So they're trying to get the people who aren't on board with us to be on board with us so they can make more money.
Toward that.
Let me ask, many in our
Or force them.
establishment government right now would say, and even Vladimir Zelensky and other Ukrainians are saying that Russia kind of unjustly invaded their country and their sovereignty and is killing their people. How would you respond to somebody who says we ought to support Ukraine because they were invaded by Russia?
We should support them because, that's a humanitarian crisis happening there, and I know Ukraine.
Disagree. I think that we should support Ukrainians, not Ukraine. We should support Russians and not Russia. Because those aren't our countries, we don't live there. We should support all people. All regular people who are people.
Was thinking about
Governments are bad.
A minutes plan to join NATO and stuff, and so we need to help them with that. But I also disagree with the enlargement of NATO, so I think that maybe we need to pull back a little. It was good in the beginning when we helped, but we've way overdone what we should there. We
Disagree.
need to pull back. We could give a little bit of aid, but we need to focus on things at home instead.
And see, that's why I'm probably going to end up voting for RFK, because I disagree with this chick. And we both somehow see something in RFK that we don't see in the other two candidates. We're on different sides of the fence, and we're going to be voting for the same person. If that says anything about where America is right now, I think we're actually headed in a good direction. And I think that Trump and Biden are kind of just the end of it. They're what is going to be the end of all of this stupidity that's just been happening since 2012, 2008, even earlier than that. Just been, snowballing. And I think the snowball is about to hit the ground and explode.
In the establishment media also criticize RFK Jr. a lot about his stance on the COVID vaccine and his criticism about its effectiveness. Do you like how he talks about the COVID vaccine?
I think he's right about everything he says about the COVID vaccine. It was pushed upon us, and it's caused a lot of health problems for people, and it wasn't tested long enough to be reliable. And I think he's right about what he says on it.
Yeah, and don't forget about all the fake news that the media and government and celebrities were pushing, trying to act like you got to follow the science, even though the science was changing every day, and the regular people knew what was actually up because we could see it all happening around us. That this sickness sucks, but it's not going to last very long. It seems to not be killing people who are normally healthy. So what is the media doing? What is the government doing? What are they saying? Why are they saying this? The people who are locked in their homes, they don't know because they're just watching the news all the time. They don't leave their house. They don't see everything that's going on.
Donald Trump called this vaccine, though, mankind's greatest achievement.
It's not. It's definitely not. It was not tested long enough. It's caused issues, and it was a little sketchy. So I don't think it's not even close to mankind's greatest achievement.
You know what would be mankind's greatest achievement? If neither Trump nor Biden make it to the White House. You know what, actually? I think Nikki Haley would be better than both Trump and Biden. Because Trump, he's going to be too polarizing, and the Democrats are just going to go absolutely insane and probably spark a civil war. Biden's probably going to spark a civil war because he keeps doing things that the states don't like. I think Nikki Haley might get us into a war with South America, but, I think we're going to end up in wars no matter what, so I don't know at this point. I'm just kidding. I would never vote for Nikki Haley. I'd rather just not vote.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I hope
you.
you got to enjoy the rally, and I appreciate you giving me the
Oh, there's that chick. This one's got me weird. All right.
And if RFK doesn't make it to Election Day and the race is between Trump and Biden, between those two, are you leaning one way or another?
Personally, Biden, just because, again, it is against...
Yeah, once again,
people, I feel like.
this person is a Biden supporter. This is like kind of my side of the fence, but because I'm not a Democrat, I'm an anarchist, so I don't follow the Republicans at all. I follow what Democrats used to be a lot more. I don't follow the current Democrat, whatever they are now. Not even Democrats. They're communists. I don't follow Republicans. I don't follow Libertarians. I think all the parties are garbage. I'm an anarchist. I do what I want.
Is there something that Trump could do to win over your support, hypothetically, away from Biden then, therefore?
I think he just doesn't seem honest to me. He doesn't seem like he genuinely knows what to talk about, and whenever he does talk, it seems like he's just talking to a certain class of people, just one class and not every class.
It's interesting that you said you might eventually end up supporting Joe Biden because you are very young, and Joe Biden struggles with a lot of youth vote. Can you tell me what about Joe Biden you like?
I think that it's less of what about I like about him and what more I don't like about the other candidate.
Yeah, and everybody voted with that in mind. And then they still don't ever look into Joe Biden. They just always like hate on Trump all the time. When really they should be hating on both of them equally and trying to find somebody else that would be better instead of voting for the guy that's not Donald Trump. 'Cause that's how you get that's how people will accidentally vote in Hitler, by thinking that the other side is voting in Hitler, so we have to vote against this guy, whoever it is, whoever it may be. We have to vote with the party and then Hitler.
And what is it that you particularly wouldn't like about Trump then?
He has strong views that I wouldn't agree with, especially with the border. I think that in things that he says that genuinely aren't nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, that's a thing. Ooh, here we go on the border. All right. So, I don't think that we should be locking down the border. I don't think that we should have an open border. And both sides are lying to us about the border because everybody's focused on this Eagle Pass, and nobody's talking about how just right down the road there are open gates to the actual border fence, border wall, whatever you want to call it. And what about New Mexico, Arizona, and California, all these other states that are bordering? Why are we just focusing on this one little place? In just Texas, we've got other states. And also, not all of we're acting like there is a whole border wall. There is not an entire border wall. The border is not completely secure. There are sections, giant sections, where there is nothing. And you can just straight up cross. And nobody's talking about that. It's like everybody forgot about that. All they did was make everybody focus on Eagle Pass. Like, we're suing you about the razor wire. Oh, we're talking about the razor wire. If people could get hurt. Meanwhile, they're secretly telling these cartels and these migrants to go somewhere else while everybody's talking about Eagle Pass. Okay.
Do you have an example of something that he says that you don't like that you think is not nice?
A lot of his Twitter threads, a lot of almost slurs that he's made towards a lot of the Hispanic population, I think especially is really not what our country needs.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you got to enjoy the rally.
I think she needs to listen to what Joe Biden's been saying more instead of listening to what Trump says and then hate watching Trump instead of watching Joe Biden. I don't get it. It's like, oh, Biden's boring. He's an old man. I'd rather just watch Trump and tweet about him so I can get some likes. But at least she's going to vote for RFK, hopefully. Even if it's for the wrong reasons.
Donald Trump and Joe Biden if Kennedy doesn't make it to November?
I would vote Trump.
You'd vote Trump.
Yeah.
Is that how you voted in 2020?
It is.
Is there something in the meantime that Trump could do to win your support back over from Kennedy?
I don't think so. I saw what happened in his last presidency, and while his intentions may have been noble, I think that he was crippled, basically, with...
That's kind of how I feel, except also he likes to dramatize everything and make it political, which I like anti-politics. I hate politics. I hate politicians. So that's what kind of pulled me away from Trump, was he just became the typical politician, except for he's treating it like a reality show now. And I do think that is somewhat noble. Like he wants to do good things, but the way he's getting there got him in a lot of trouble.
I don't want to get too deep into conspiracies, but yeah, I think that a lot of people did not allow him to affect the change that he wanted to.
So is it that you're sour on
Yes, true. But he also kind of shot himself in the foot like 50 times.
Trump, or that you just don't think he'll be able to be effective?
I don't think he'll be effective. I still agree
True.
with a lot of Trump's policies and what he wanted to do with America.
Mostly true.
I think Make America Great Again is a great slogan that was kind of
True.
vilified. I really agree with the sentiment and a lot of his policies, but I just don't think he would be able to affect it. And really, I agree with Kennedy.
Yeah, Make America Great Again gave him a literal cult following. By the way, I'm not hating on MAGA. I'm talking about the mega MAGA. And I know a few of them who basically treat Trump like I treat Jesus.
On a lot more issues than I do with Trump, so he's kind of my ideal candidate.
Is there something about RFK Jr. in particular, any of his political stances that you really like?
Honestly, I'm a mom, and hearing the things that he has done to detract from the vaccine narrative, it's what originally drew me to his campaign. I think he's shining a lot of light on that issue that has been kept in the dark.
He gets criticized a lot for his rhetoric around vaccines not being very effective. You like that rhetoric?
I do, yeah. I do.
I know one other non-establishment position he has is his stance on Ukraine. I think he called it a money laundering scheme earlier tonight. So what do you think about his stance on not supporting Ukraine anymore?
I'm 100% with that. Why are we sending so much money to Ukraine when...
I feel kind of the same about Israel, though. Not the people, not the country. Literally just Israel's government. Because Israel is like the land of God, basically. I believe Israel means struggle with God. But I think that it's been not corrupted, but there is corruption in it that could be easily removed if we would just stop supporting it. And it sucks, man. The Jews, they're always trying to take them over, trying to kill every last Jew. Even the Jews who have taken over their own Jews have gotten so many Jews killed because of government garbage. And I don't even know. I don't want to talk about Gaza. Both the Hamas and Israel governments, I think they're both just as evil as the other. It's just Israel is better at talking about violence and condoning violence than Hamas is and the Palestinians are. I think they just have better resources and better media manipulation and better propaganda. Because they have the help of the United States, who is like the master of propaganda.
Like he said, we have some of the worst poverty here in this state. In this country, we have, millions of people who are below the poverty line, yet we're shipping our money overseas. It makes no sense.
What's your response to Ukrainians who say, we were illegally
Honestly, I don't think they know what to do. I don't think they know how to fix the problems. I think they just know how to make more money for themselves, because they're just thinking like, well, if there's no way to fix it, I might as well, help myself, because maybe I can empower myself to make changes if I have even more power. And then that's how you start developing the hunger for power.
Invaded, we're being slaughtered by the Russians, and that we need your help.
I mean, it would be fine if we had the resources to disperse, but when we can't even take care of our own people, I mean, how can we justify trying to save someone else?
Absolutely.
So, and it is a giant money laundering scheme. It's not rocket science to see that. Just look at Burisma and Hunter Biden. I mean, it was a money laundering scheme. It is a money laundering scheme. So.
Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you got to enjoy the rally.
Yeah. Well, that I think I agreed with that chick more than the other two. But there's one thing that I am curious about, and it was the how he feels about the Second Amendment. I don't know. I don't know anything about what he said about the Second Amendment. So he says, according to this headline of this YouTube video, I support the 2A, but I don't know why this says that Lex Fridman is almost watched. Somebody else must have watched it, or I must have turned it on and fallen asleep or something, because I don't remember watching that. I don't think I could watch 2.5 hours of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Love the guy, but it's hard to listen to him, especially for 2.5 hours. Anyway.
Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., RFK. I've been getting a ton of comments.
I don't know who this guy is.
We haven't talked about him. He's for the second.
I watched about 1.5 minutes of this guy's video to make sure that he was actually cool. And this is an ad, and I'm going to play it, but I'm going to turn the speed up.
Amendment. As a Democrat, he's saying all of the things that we wish Democrats would say. Well, the truth always comes out, and last night he kind of tipped his hat in a big way. And I think I just want to let everybody know, because I've pointed out inconsistencies with Republican candidates, and I just figured I'd give you a heads up on what a lot of Republicans are saying is a better choice of a Democrat if there was going to be one when it comes to the Second Amendment. I want to thank the sponsor of the video, and that's Blackout Coffee. Guys and gals, you've heard me talk about it before. Blackout Coffee, we make the best coffee, teas, and hot chocolates in the land. If you don't believe me, just try some. And right now, our 4th of July, our Independence Day sale is going live. Head over to blackoutcoffee.com/GNG and use code 1776 to save 17.76%.
I bet it actually is good. I've tried some of these coffee brands from these YouTubers. They make their own coffee. I haven't had a bad one yet. I tried the Quarterings coffee, coffee brand coffee. This is what that one's called. I highly recommend that one. And the Cast Brew from Timcast. I really liked the Cast Brew. I probably will check out this, because I do like me some coffee.
On your entire order, store-wide. Quick note, this does not apply to subscription services, but anything in the store, hats, mugs, shirts, coffee, tea, hot chocolate, you name it, you can save right now. blackoutcoffee.com/GNG. Also, a quick reminder, our investment round is still open. If you want to join the team and help us grow, link will be down below as well. All right, this is not going to be a long drawn-out video, because I'm just going to point to 2 things that he said, 2 different occasions, and a lot has to do on where, politicians in general, what they say depends on who they're talking to, where they are. So in New Hampshire, the other day, or last week, RFK Jr., if you don't know who RFK Jr. is, Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., he's the son of Robert Francis Kennedy Sr., who was assassinated. He's also the nephew of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the former president of the United States. All of these cats are from, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. We all know that President Kennedy was assassinated. And people want to know his stance on guns, because he's running for Democrat. He's running for the Democrat
Let me turn that speed back down.
Nomination for President of the United States. Let's go to what he was asked in New Hampshire, and we'll be right back.
Kennedy believes a new approach is needed to end mass shootings and says the Second Amendment must be respected.
What will you do to confine semi-automatic weapons to use only by military and law enforcement?
I am not going to take people's guns away, and I believe in gun control myself.
So you heard him say in his own words that he is not going to take guns away from anybody, right? And he said this throughout his campaign thus far.
I think this is what's going to make it or break it for me.
He always says the Second Amendment should be respected, and he's not going to take away guns from anybody. And that's had a lot of people who are saying, hey, Jared, have you checked out RFK Jr.? Yes, I have. I've been following him for a bit because he's tied into Massachusetts and the Kennedys. And the Kennedys, if you want to go down a really dark hole, look at some of the history of the Kennedys in politics and in life. But I just wanted you to see what he said last night, because while he starts out on that quick path, he ends with true colors. They came out. I'm not going to take anybody's guns away, but here it is.
So on May 30th of 2020, I lost one of my best friends, Chris Beatty, to gun violence. And also being a
Please stop saying gun violence. Guns don't cause violence. People cause violence.
founder and CEO of a tech company that keeps people safe during marketplace transactions, I want to know, like, how are you going to use the federal resources to slow and or end the epidemic of gun violence in America?
Yeah, thank you for that question. For me, it's a very tough question. And I lost my father to gun violence. I lost my uncle to gun violence, and and many friends. And so I'm aware and sensitive to to the injury that can cause to generational injury that occurs from guns. We have a gun problem in this country. We have a Supreme Court now that has given a very expansive view of the Second Amendment. And I believe in the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. And practically, I do not believe that there is within that Second Amendment that there's anything that we can meaningfully.
Just to be clear, I think that we should be able to walk into 7-Eleven, no questions asked, no ID, and walk out with a gun. Everybody. Every single person. Even children. But that would be up to the discretion of the seller. That's what I believe. And everyone is responsible for their own security and safety.
Do to reduce the trade and the ownership of guns. And I'm not going to take people's guns away. And because telling the people that I'm going to take their guns away is not.
Yeah, he's saying he's not going to take people's guns away, but he's not saying anything about preventing people from getting guns in the future.
Practical. It's not. Anybody who tells you that they're going to be able to reduce gun violence, gun control, I'm going to take their guns away, is not practical. It's not. Anybody who tells you that they're going to be able to reduce gun violence through gun control at this point, I don't think is being realistic. And I think we have to figure out other ways to do that. I think we have to figure out other ways to reduce that violence. And we need to, and ultimately my hope is that we can bring Americans together, get them to trust each other, get them to trust their government again, and then we can work out, every American, whether they're Republican gun carrier or a Democrat who is, who believes that nobody should own guns. We all want the same thing, which is we want to keep our children safe and we want to keep our neighborhoods safe. And there are, I think we have to look at what the alternatives are for doing that. And some of the things I've talked about are that we need to look at some of the other causes of the violence. One is the division among Americans and the hatred. We need to reduce that. The distrust of government, we need to do.
Okay, so Donald Trump, when he talks about Second Amendment, I think he's got more gun control in his head than RFK Jr. does. I kind of agree with RFK Jr., especially like keeping guns to keep your neighborhood safe. That's what I was talking about.
Reduce that.
And you got to reduce the mental health issues and like make life better for people in other ways, so they don't feel like that's the only way out.
Also need to look at the contribution, particularly with the school shootings of some of these psychiatric drugs. And, I'm not saying they're causing it, but I'm saying there is evidence they are, and that evidence. What's that evidence? Well, part of the evidence includes the fact that
SSRIs make people go crazy and feel nothing.
For SSRIs, almost all of them have on their manufacturers' inserts among the listed side effects are homicidal and suicidal behavior.
That doesn't mean antidepressants caused any of these people to commit mass shootings in a school.
Of course it doesn't.
Okay.
But we ought to be looking at it, shouldn't we?
It doesn't. She's like, if it's not all, then it's not any. And he's like, no, it's not all. And there are people, and there are evidence and signs that this is true, that maybe 1 out of 10 people this does affect, and that's too many. And that's not to be like, oh, we gotta ban SSRIs. We gotta figure out other ways to make people better. We can't just be like, here's a pill, go suffer alone now and feel nothing. If you feel nothing, you can't feel sad.
Shouldn't we be looking at video games?
No.
And cell phones and and some of the social.
No, look at the companies. Don't look at the what the people are doing. Let the people do their own stuff.
Some of the social media stuff. We should be looking at all these things, including the SSRIs. And by the way, there are studies out there that indicate a higher percentage of the people who committed these school violence were on SSRIs.
Yeah, well, there are also like tens and tens of millions of Americans on antidepressants who don't commit mass shootings.
Well, of course. And there are people who smoke cigarettes and don't get cancer. So,
I don't know if she's asking those questions as like to play devil's advocate, so he'll give better answers and go deeper in it, or if she actually thinks what she's asking. Oh, I didn't mean full screen that.
But shouldn't we be looking? Shouldn't we be looking at those things? I mean, it's clear something happened in this country. Something happened that we can't really explain, and that we need to explain. And NIH really ought to be explaining it to us, but it doesn't do these studies. It will not do the studies where there may be a big shot as the culprit. Why? When I was a kid, many of the schools that my friends attended had gun clubs in them. And the kids brought their rifles to school every day. And nobody was shooting children. No, and in all of human history, in all of the nations in the world, there's never been a time.
Actually, that's not true.
People ran.
I think that back in the day, there were school shootings. It was just, we didn't have the weapons that we have now. And also, it was less reported. We didn't have the internet for everybody to go crazy and like tweet about it nonstop. So if it happened, it kind of happened locally, which is not saying that it happened more or the same amount back then. It definitely most likely happened less because of, like I said, the technology wasn't there. But it definitely was happening then too. There was other violence too. Didn't have to incorporate guns. People are just violent. They will find a way to be violent. That's why we need guns, to protect the people who don't want to be violent against the violent people.
Went into a group of children and started shooting them. Why did this suddenly start? Why is it not happening in Switzerland, which has,
I've pretty much gathered how he feels about guns and what he thinks about gun control. He thinks it has very little to do with the actual guns themselves. I agree. Probably, I'm most likely going to vote for this guy. Unless something happens.
a comparable number of guns per capita that we have.
No, we have far more guns
Well, we have
per
far
capita.
more, but they have a lot of guns, and their last school shooting was 21 years ago. We're having them every 21 hours.
We have a few more questions we want to get to, but very quickly, in 10
do
seconds.
you believe that we should
Yeah, it's not a gun problem, it's a country problem.
even look at that issue?
I want to ask you about the fact that you're running for the Democratic nomination and 77% of Democrats support an assault weapons ban. Do you not support an assault weapons ban?
If we can get a consensus on it, if Republicans and Democrats agreed to it and it passed Congress, I would sign it.
Yeah, that's he gave her a bullshit answer. He's just wanting it to end because he's like, she's not listening to me. What is it? He knows that assault weapons is a bullshit term. Like, nobody knows what an assault weapon is. They just want to ban the scary weapons, and then they'll classify something else as an assault weapon. And then they'll be like, these are the mass destruction weapons. That's what shotguns are. They're mass destruction. They can blow a person in half. What they were saying about that, what rifle was it? Was it the AR-15, or was it the thing that's like the AR-15 that looks like a hunting rifle? I don't remember. Dude said it would blow a deer in half. Might have been even a straight up handgun. I don't know. I don't pay attention to these people. They're all nuts, and they all say different things that are just insane.